Okay. Now we looked at the side of imports. Now I want to look at the side of exports. Okay. So I want to look at um, exports. Okay. So you export things when you're relatively efficient at them, and so what that means is your local price, well, with no trade, without trade, your local price is less than the world price. So you do this thing well compared to the world, or it's relatively available in your country. Okay, so we're going to look at the export side. Let's make this. So the other one I was thinking maybe like car parts. It could be any kind of like toys, all kinds of things. The other one we drew. Um, Now this one is going to be soybeans. Okay, so let's suppose this is your domestic price, and your soybeans are, you're producing this much, but it turns out that you're really good at producing soybeans. So the world price is that. Okay, so the world price is way the heck up here, right? So if you can gain access to world markets, you can produce tons of soybeans. Your producers will want to produce tons, and your domestic consumers are going to cut back on them a little bit, right? But we get this huge gain. Okay, so our consumer surplus got smaller. It would have been quite a bit bigger, but this product actually I probably could have even drawn the demand smaller than this. This product is not a super important product for the average American consumer, but it's a very important product for American producers, for example. So your producer surplus got huge, and remember this portion, this is the gain to trade. Okay, without trade, the producer would lose big time. Okay, so if this trade was taken away, these producers are going to majorly lose. They're going to have to cut back to Q star, and their price would fall. Okay, so if you can think of this from the point of view of the producer, so without trade, we're going to get a fall in the price to P star and a fall in the quantity to Q star, right? So you're going to see a huge fall in producer surplus for these exporting countries. So this is the situation. So yes, and we saw that when you're importing things, then the industries that are trying to compete directly with the imports are hurt. Industries that use the imports to do other things are greatly helped. And also exporting companies or farms or whatever it might be are also greatly helped by international trade. Actually, incidentally, consumers are hurt by exporting things because it raises domestic prices of these things. But we kind of people just kind of generally ignore that one. Okay, so if you're going to get into a major situation on trade where a country is going to try to cut themselves off from trade, well, it's very difficult that you would cut yourself off from imports and people would not retaliate. So it's very likely if you cut yourself from imports, then also other countries are going to cut themselves off from your imports. And so by doing that, it's going to cause some major problems in the economy. So one, on both sides, the consumers are going to lose that gain to trade they got from imports, and the companies using those imports are going to lose that gain to trade. And then on the side of the producers, they're going to majorly lose this gain from trade that they're getting from exporting, right? So besides are going to be both lost. And then the second thing you're going to have, you would have a huge reorganization, which would be very costly, where for example, all the people that are producing things for exports, if they lose access to world markets, would have to switch to things that are needed domestically. And they might not have the right resources for that, or it might take them a long time to make the switch. And the same thing, that in the other market, people are going to have to try to ramp up their production that are doing very little, and it may be difficult for them to do this.